that we are very fortunate. We have been very fortunate with that so far. And in terms of results, I've had my students get into some of the top 10 schools in the US. So that includes Harvard, Chicago Booth, Kellogg, MIT, Darden, Tuck, Columbia, Yale, MIT as well. In Europe, we've had INSEAD, London Business School, Oxford, Cambridge, HEC, we've had somebody get in every year, 1 or 2 people get in every year. It's like a lucky charm for us. And IIM A, NSRD. And within India, of course, we've had people get into ISB. So that's like the short introduction about the company and about me. Nothing much to tell. So I'm a graduate of IIT and Stanford, and I got my PhD from Stanford. I joined the corporate workforce, and then in about a period of 4 years or so, I got a little disillusioned in the sense I was happy. I had very good colleagues and friends, but I felt I wasn't making the kind of impact that I desired to make, right? And that's when I considered the MBA process. I got a 770 on the GMAT. I got into the exec program at Stanford, but for a few reasons, I wasn't able to take it up. But the same month is when I started August Academy. So that's my brief intro. That's my company's brief intro. With that, I'm ready to take questions. It's not a presentation, really. It's just a Q&A.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for extending the invite, Karthik. Really looking forward for, getting a lot of questions out of my head, I should say. Sure. So just brief intro about me. I have around 7 years of experience now, and
okay.
I come from the STEM. Specifically, I have done my MTech from BITS Pilani as a work integrated program, and my BTech bachelor's is from RV College, Bangalore, which is a top university in Bangalore, number 1 university. And I worked in the semiconductor industry for about 6 to 6 years. Okay. I've been a software engineer and all that, like senior software engineer and all that. Now I work as a project manager in the IT. Now I'm also a public speaker. So I'm involved with Toastmasters, and I'm a distinguished Toastmaster there, which is the highest level of education achievement given by Toastmasters International.
I used to be a Toastmaster as well. Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's good.
I didn't get to the DTM level, but congratulations.
Thanks. So the thing is, I'm pretty serious about, at the MBA, the B schools, etc. But I'm starting it. Okay. I'll be very honest with you. And I do want to have a guidance. And also because I'm looking for 2025, I would want to get started and plan it out in a phase because that would be my one, shot at it, I would say. Probably. So I'd want to plan it in such a way that the chances are really high. Okay. So first things first, where I want to get started is asking the most obvious question, because the competition from STEM background in India is pretty high. Okay. So I just want to understand from your experience how my profile stands, and if at all it is not that, appealing, what can I do for the next 1 year in your suggestion so that, I can still make it up if possible?
Okay. Let me just go through your resume briefly. I think you attached it earlier today.
Yes.
So I'm just pulling it up.
Yeah, sure.
So you are a 2016 graduate, BE in engineering, and you have an MTech from BITS very recently, 2022. And like you mentioned, it's a work integrated program. In terms of primary core experience, currently working as a project manager for, I'm guessing, a tech company, and a result-oriented project team leader with 7 years of experience covering project and product management, including developing, implementing, supporting complex software, leading a team of 20 people. And you have some good names on your resume in terms of the companies that you work for, right? Some of India's largest firms, some of the world's largest firms. So all of these will add value to your resume. So basic idea is I would ask you to focus on your GMAT and do well. And if you're able to get a good score, then you should be able to target a top 15 as well. And if the score kind of goes a little up and down, then we'll have to modify the school list accordingly. But the score is a very important component of determining where you can end up at.
Okay. So, Karthik, if I'm looking at the Holy Trinity, okay, the top three, the Harvard, Stanford, and the Wharton, what would be the GMAT that I should be looking at?
We are thinking at least 750, 760.
750, 760. Okay. So let's say I get through that.
I'm not sure how things will change in the GMAT focus. It's just about to begin in a month or two. But with the old and the traditional GMAT, we are thinking about 750, 760.
Oh, okay. Okay. So let's say I pass the first hurdle, right? So how is my overall profile? Because is there anything that I need to look at as a differential? Because one point that I've read, I might be wrong, is the GPA for the Holy Trinity is usually around, the intake is around 3.7, the average. But when I look at my MTech, it's coming around 3.3, okay, which is much below the average. So should I be doing something so that, I can, anything in the next 1 year so that, I can get there to 3.7, or how do you look at it?
See, first of all, I don't think you are at a 3.3. If I remember the details of your email correctly, you were at 8 point something, right?
3.3, some 8.39 out of 10, I think.
Yeah, that does not convert to 3.3 on 4. It's not as simple as dividing by 10 and multiplying by 4. So GPA conversion is a little bit more complex, and I would ask anybody who's seeing this video at a later point not to do it, right? So if you want to convert your GPA, the official way to do it is you sign up with this organization called WES, the World Education Services. You'll pay them around $300 or something, and send them your transcripts, and they will do that for you. The idea being, 70% in India is not that bad, right? A 7 GPA is also not that bad. First of all, a 70% is not a 7 GPA, right? They are two different things. But whatever it is, they're not that bad. But if you convert them to a 2.8, a 2.8 is almost like a fail, right? But 70% or 7 is not, while it's average, it's not fail, right? So it means something else, right? So it's not a linear conversion. So don't do that. I think your GPA is fine. GPA is not something you need to worry about.
Okay. So, on a rough, just for me to understand, okay. So would it be on the top side of 3.3, somewhere around 3.5-ish, or based on your experience? I would definitely explore the WS.
I wouldn't even convert it. In general, an 8 point something GPA is good. That's where I would leave it. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. And the second thing is, how do I fare with respect to the extracurricular or co-curricular things? Because I know I've done a bit of public speaking, and I've been involved in the NPO pretty seriously in all these things. I did have an impact as well. But will that actually add up, or should I be looking at few things probably to fill out the gaps in the next 1 year?
I think your Toastmasters journey is quite remarkable, and that's something that will actually give you a lot of good stories to share. If you're currently not involved at that higher level, then I would encourage you to get involved in some nonprofit organization, or it doesn't even have to be a nonprofit organization. It could be anything that suits your interests. Maybe a hobby, or maybe a sport, something of that sort. But the idea being, if your work loves you the time beyond the 40-50 hour mark, they would want to be sure that you are doing something productive with that time, instead of just binge watching something on Netflix, or something of that sort. So and it gives them some idea about what kind of interests you have, and they may use that to further figure out what kind of personality you may have, right? It's not an exact science, but they're just trying to get a better picture of you and your hobbies and extracurricular activities and your community involvement. Allow them that opportunity. And the other thing is, typically, if you look at it, most people who apply to these colleges probably have around 2 to 4 years of experience at the time of application. And typically, this is not sufficient to get significant leadership experience in the workplace. So in a program where leadership is given some prize potential, right? How do they evaluate leadership potential? So if you're not getting opportunities at the workplace, then maybe you'll get opportunities in the extracurricular space. So that's the understanding. You do have leadership at work as well, so that might be a balance. So all I'm saying is have something current. It doesn't matter whether it's this or that. There's no such thing as there is a certain kind of gap, and to fill it, you have to fit in with a certain kind of experience. Nothing of that sort. So just go with whatever interests you and give it your heart and soul.
Okay. Thanks. That makes sense, actually. And a follow-up question on that. I'm quite passionate about teaching. Okay. I mean, I got into public speaking as a way because I love when people explain things in an easier way. Okay. And I've also been involved in going to public schools and, teaching the kids and all that, but not as a part of any NPO or an NGO kind of a setup, but just as an individual.
Okay.
But how would they add up? Like, because how would it give me a credibility? Let's say today I come and tell you that I have been involved in in an individual capacity where I've, went to schools, public schools, and helped transform the lives of kids, right? It doesn't give any credibility, I felt. Like, how would you see that? Or how would you,
so why don't you just do it as part of an organization?
That's a good question, but I never explored that much because I thought of flexibility and all that, which comes at the place I live. That's it.
Okay, but maybe you can explore it right now.
Okay.
Assuming you still have about 2 years before you start your intake, you can explore it right now. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense, actually. I'll try that. Yeah. And next one question is, I currently, by the time if I would get an intake, it would be 30. I would be turning 30. So I as you mentioned, right, it would be the average is around 2 to 4 years, roughly about, and of experience. But I'll be standing at around the far end of it at the 8 years of experience. So looking at like the top 3 or something, how will they be perceiving the application? Because I'll be way away from the median.
See, in general, Harvard and Stanford trend towards younger candidates in general. Yeah. The average in terms of experience is 5 years. People start applying with 2 years of experience, but the average is 5. You're about 3 years more than average. So that's where you are. 3 years more than 5 is better than 6 years more than 2, right? Something like that.
Okay.
But
so
in general, see,
chances?
I would encourage you to keep your mind open and not just about Harvard and Stanford and whatnot, but in general, the top 15 or so. Definitely, it's worth applying to Harvard, Stanford, and whatnot. But I think if you make up your mind in a way that if I don't get into one of these 3 schools, my life is a failure, then you're not. That's not the right approach. Yeah. So target it by all means, but be a little bit more open, so that you have like plan Bs and plan Cs ready.
Okay. Got it. Makes sense.
Anything else, Nanda?
I made some notes. And yeah, regarding the timelines, Karthik, so given that I have a year long for the application from now, how would you recommend that I phase it out, like with respect to my GMAT preparation, LOPs, SORs, all that, LORs, SOPs, and all that?
Yeah, those things we'll get into it. If Swapnil has a relevant question, then maybe I can take that question right now. But for right now, suffice it to say that if you reach out to us in April, you'll have sufficient time for the rest of the process. Okay, for round 1 itself. Round 1 is in September, October, right? So by March, April, if you reach out, I think that would be the ideal timelines. Give it about 6 months, which means you should have a GMAT score in place by March. So keep this meta timeline at this point. The micro timelines, we'll do the project management at a suitable point. Right now, I don't want to flood you with that information, but definitely if Swapnil is going to ask us about our 2 timelines and all that, we'll take that question right now. Yeah. Hi, Swapnil. Can you just give a brief introduction and then maybe we can take your questions?
Yeah. Thanks a lot for this, Karthik. So I'm actually a deferred MBA candidate. I'm a final year graduate at HKUST, studying economics, and I'm set to graduate next year for spring. So I'm targeting M7
next
deferred
year,
MBA.
meaning 2024, right?
2024 May is when I graduate.
Okay, got it. Okay.
I'm targeting the April deadlines. Most schools have April deadlines for deferred, but I think a couple of schools have round 1, round 2 as well. So for those schools, I'm targeting round 2, first week of January. So I'm specifically targeting the M7, specifically Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, and then also Columbia, Yale, Booth. So these are sort of 6 primary schools. I am currently preparing for the GMAT. Don't have a score yet, but I can share more information on my profile to better understand my chances.
Sure. I mean, definitely happy to hear your profile, but the GMAT score is a very important component. Swapnil. I mean, without the GMAT, I cannot make an educated comment on your chances. But please share your profile. Yeah.
Sure. So essentially, I have had a lot of internships in the field of strategy consulting. But typically towards energy transition, decarbonization, etc. So ESG is my primary field of interest. I have my professional certification related to ESG analyst as well.
Which company did you intern with?
It's a French company called Blunomy. That's the strategic consultancy, which primarily works with companies on corporate strategy related to how to decarbonize, how to transition from polluting energy sources, etc. So, and previously, I also took a year off from university to work full time at another strategic consultancy, but that was related to fintech and financial services specifically. So most of my work experience has been in consulting, and in the middle, I also interned with a private credit firm in their ESG division. So engaging with portfolio companies on how to best drive positive ESG outcomes. That was a gist of my work experience there. So my sort of storyline is very consistent in those terms, and I have I have identified a few very relevant stories, etc., and anecdotes which I would love to include in my application. Currently, I'm actually on exchange in France, and so that's basically it. Apart from this, I also have my own venture that I run. I started a company called Planeteers, where we essentially try to address the menace of plastic pollution and deforestation by offering an alternative to plastic and wooden disposable cutlery. So we sell to restaurants, conglomerates in Hong Kong. We've had partnerships with some eminent companies, have had large scale impact in terms of reducing carbon footprints of firms, reducing the waste that they create, so that's about me in a nutshell.
Okay. Indian citizen or citizen of some other place?
Indian citizen, but undergraduate from Hong Kong.
Okay. All right. Yeah. See, I mean, I like what I've heard about your profile. So get me the GMAT score, and if you're able to get like a 750 or so, I think all the schools that you talk about, that may be worth a shot.
Okay.
And really the score has to be there. But if the score's there, then the 6 schools that you talk about, we can definitely target those schools.
Got it. And a related question was that my GPA is a bit on the lower end compared to the average for these schools. So mine is a shade under 3.0 on a 4.3 scale.
Is that the native scale that you've been provided the GPA on?
What do you mean by native scale?
Are you converting from some other scale to?
No, it's the native scale. Yeah, 4.3 is the scale used at HKUST. Mine is a bit below 3. So
okay, and I mean, do you know what kind of GPAs other people in your class get? Is it significantly lower than that?
No, it's not significantly lower, but I've only compared it to the averages of my target schools. So usually on the website they publish these statistics, right? So the average is there.
I mean, it's definitely not a great GPA. We will be honest with you on that. But the point is, it also depends on how your college, as an HKUST, evaluates candidates, right? So if you're in the top 20% or so, and HKUST is just like supremely stingy with its grades, it may not be that much of a problem. But if HKUST evaluates candidates the same way US universities do, which is pretty generously, then that's not a good thing.
Yeah. HKUST is the furthest thing from generous. It's, has a reputation for being very stingy with grades. It's called the MIT of Asia for a reason. So, and it's also on a curve. So, yeah.
No, I mean, US universities also provide grades on a curve, but
got
it.
You
can do better than 3 in a US school. So that's the point. If you're in the top 20%, let's say you don't have much to worry about. But if you're not, and especially if you're on the bottom 50%, then that may not be great news. But anyway, you apply and see, get a good score.
Got it. And can a good GMAT sort of compensate for it, or is it looked at independently?
I mean, there are 2 independent data points, that's for sure. But if you get that 750, 760, then it may be okay.
Got it. Thanks.
Anything else?
Another small question. I was actually browsing through the Wharton application, and they have a specific checkbox there called on the lines of, do you waive your right to review the recommendation from your recommender? So what's the implication? What's the implication of selecting I don't waive that right?
See, I mean, obviously I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I've not been in that place so far. But the general understanding is, if you waive the right, then the recommender is in a position to give a bit more candidate review of what kind of person you are. Whereas if you retain the right, which means you may be able to review the letter like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, 20 years later, right? Then the recommender may not be that honest, right? Because they don't want to be on your bad side at any point in time, right? So, I mean, if you trust your recommender, you may just waive the rights. It's not such a big deal. But, it's completely your prerogative. So I'm just giving you the implications, and what you choose to do with that is entirely up to you.
I see. So does the school view it any differently, or do they not?
No, this is the lens with which they would view the letters, right?
No, I'm talking about the school, or not the recommender.
I'm talking about the school. I'm talking about anybody else. Yeah.
Okay.
This is a general implication that you're providing. Yeah. See, people have to give you the right to certain things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The fact that you choose to exercise the right or not says 2 different things about you. And I can't take that away from my mind, as a reader. All okay?
Yeah.
Thanks. Right. And then any more questions from your side?
Yeah. So, Karthik, you were mentioning about the timelines, right? Where you said it's in the April. So, can you also throw some light upon how the pricing would work, or is it the right forum, or would you, how? I just want to know.
I'm okay sharing it right now, but with the caveat that it's probably going to go through 2 or 3 changes by the time we start working together. See, at this time we have 4 major pricing plans. First of all, there's 2 kinds of packages. There's a comprehensive package and an ultra package. Difference between the 3 being, in a comprehensive package, we'll have one brainstorming call per college. And in the ultra package, we don't limit in terms of how many calls we'll have per college. Yeah. But either way, the number of edits and all, we are happy to take any number of edits across packages. That doesn't change. So if we have to do 5 or 6 edits, that's fine, we'll do it. It's just that in the comprehensive, all our comments will be in written form. And the ultra, it'll be in written form only, but we have the flexibility to take more calls as and when required. Okay. In our 3-school comprehensive package, without interview prep, we'll charge 1,95,000 plus GST. GST is at 18%. So, roughly around 230. 5-school comprehensive includes 2 mock interviews. We'll charge 250,000 plus GST, 18%. So it comes to around 295 or something. 3-school ultra includes interview prep. So here we charge 275,000 plus GST. Okay. And 5-school ultra also includes interview prep. We'll charge 340,000 plus GST. So this is our current thing. We've been holding this constant since 2021. We will be revising this for this year. And definitely you can expect one more revision by March. So typically we do it twice a year. It's just that over the last 2 years, we've been holding it constant, but typically we do it twice a year. Once just before the season begins and once just before R2 begins.
Okay. So just one more question here on this. So 3-school ultra with interview prep is 2.75, right? Plus GST.
That is correct. That's correct. Yes. Yeah.
And 5-school is with
340 plus GST.
340 is it? Okay.
So it'll come to around 4 lakhs.
Okay. Got it. And the first two that you mentioned, like the 3-school 1.95, that was for comprehensive?
That was for comprehensive, yes. For the 3-school comprehensive, we don't include interview prep. All the other 3 packages, the 5-school comprehensive, the 3-school ultra, and the 5-school ultra includes interview prep.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. There are limits in the number of mock interviews for the 5-school comprehensive. That's 2. In the 3-school ultra and the 5-school ultra, there are no limits.
Understood. Okay. And Karthik, would you be able to share the the prospectus or the thing that you have on these pricing? Sure, and also all these things?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Just ping me saying, hey, Karthik, can you share the counseling process and the current pricing? And okay, I'll reply to that. Yeah. So usually I put a star on the emails and then I get back in a day or 2, depending on urgency. So I'll get back to that. Just put a one-liner.
Yeah. Got it, Karthik. And Karthik, just to probably end the thing, one question. Okay. So if you were to, let's say, if I would get 760 or something like that, okay, the GMAT, which is itself variable at this point of time, but let's say I hope I get it. Okay. What would you rate are the chances? Like if you, in a pure probability ways, you see it as a very good chance for the top 3 or decent chance or a slimmer way?
No, it's a lottery. So nothing about your profile necessarily. There's lots of tech engineers, and what will happen is beyond a point, it'll be easy to separate the top 20% from the bottom 80%, but within the top 20%, which is itself a big number, right? It's difficult to select 5 or 6 candidates. And there, the school will not lose out by just doing a lottery, right? I mean, I'm just saying, yeah. They probably won't do a lottery, but they'll do something which is the equivalent of lottery, go by GMAT or I don't know what they do, just throw papers and pick 5 or something like that. So, I mean, they attach some sort of rational response to it, saying this guy's essays were better, that guy's essays were better, but really, I mean, that's not the case. So the best you can do is try to be in the top 20%. I think you'll be in the top 20%. But once you move from the top 20 to the 5 or 6 who get selected, it's completely not in your hands. So you shouldn't stress yourself.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's it from my end, Karthik. So these are the questions. I'd respond to your email asking for that pricing and all that. And sure, I'll get my GMAT sorted before that so that, by March, we should be, probably in a condition to go forward.
Definitely. Yeah. All the best on that. Yeah. Take care.
Thanks, Karthik. Thank you so much for the concept. Bye.